Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Dear professors, dear doctors, and distinguished scholars, I'm very thankful to the organizer and co-organizer of this excellent conference on late Professor AbdulHamid Ahmad AbuSulayman, his personality, intellectual, and scholastic legacy. I feel very much honored to present my very brief paper on Prof. AbdulHamid Ahmad AbuSulayman's era and socio-political atmospheres. Okay, my paper, the content of my paper is very brief. As first introduction, then we have two main points: the era and socio-political atmosphere in Muslim world. Second main point is the era and socio-political atmosphere in non-Muslim world. In Muslim world, we'll briefly mention the problem of state of Israel. In Arab Muslim world crisis. And in non-Muslim world, we will mention development of European nations, Japan, China, and also some point from India. Actually, the content of this paper is very large. It's very hard to include everything. We have brief biography of Prof. AbdulHamid AbuSulayman. The late Professor AbdulHamid Ahmad AbuSulayman was born in Makkah in 1936 and passed away on 18th August 2021. He spent his childhood and youth in Makkah and obtained his Bachelor of Arts in Commerce in 1959, a master's degree in political science in 1963, both from University of Cairo. He obtained his PhD on intellectual relations from University of USA in 1973, with his PhD thesis titled as Towards Islamic Theory of International Relations, New Directions of Islamic Methodology and Thought. Later, in 1987, he published, this paper was published by IIUM and reprinted twice. In the introduction, I mentioned when the late Professor AbdulHamid was about 3 years of his age, famous World War II broke out. As a result of war, everybody knows Islamic Khalifa state or Ottoman Empire dismembered by newly rising Western powers. Muslims suddenly became headless, like headless flies, fly hither and thither without any specific direction. That's later when the Professor AbdulHamid grew up, he brought forth a remarkable book titled The Crisis in the Muslim Mind, published in 1993 by IIUM. Later, when he moved to United States of America, he came up upon his deep reflections with several other books towards Islamic theory of international relations. This was his PhD thesis, revitalizing higher education in Muslim world, the Quranic worldview, a springboard for cultural reform. These books already mentioned by previous presenters. The era and socio-political atmosphere in Muslim world. Now why not deny that Muslim world since collapse of Ottoman Empire in 1921 until today is weak and still in the trend of declining. The future for them seems so dim that Muslim nations are living in poverty, some below poverty line. They are not only poor in economy, but also very weak and infirm in technology and all fields of science, including philosophy, astronomy, mathematics, agriculture, which once the crown sciences of Muslim learning in the Middle Age, and to which now Muslims have very little contributions. In addition, many Muslim nations are engaged in civil wars and invaded by militarily stronger nations. This phenomenon of Muslim world is precisely captured by Prof. AbdulHamid. He said, Ummah is passing through an extremely difficult stage, one of the disintegration and schism, loss of identity, failure of institutions, and inability to extract itself from its present states of bewilderment. Prof. AbdulHamid, late Prof. AbdulHamid, his insight, yes, truly was very deep. The problem of state of Israel. He witnessed in his early years the establishment of modern Israel state, the year of Arab-Israel war, and issued defeat of Arab allies by the little nascent Israel state. In the midst of neighboring modern Arab nations, it was historical humiliation to Arabs since the rise of Islam to this world. The state of Israel is a malignant tumor deliberately planned to the center portion of Muslim Ummah by the old imperial colonizers, constantly inflicting pains and sufferings to the already weak and sick Ummah, which, if not properly cut off, will spread to the whole body of Ummah, make the Ummah weaker and weaker, and even finally vanish. This is the goal they have planned clearly since establishment of the state of Israel, or even earlier. The Arab-Israel confrontation has been more than half a century and still has no effective resolutions. It seems will continue until one side, either Israel or Palestinians, suffer total vanish. The Arab-Muslim war, as Palestinian Israel problem continues, constitutes a major threat to the peace of the Muslim this Arab region and the Muslim world at large. The neighboring Muslim states are at the same time also involved in political unrest and turmoil, attracted by the inborn nationalism from the West and partially encouraged by the Western colonizers, and the Arab nations struggled for gaining self-determination and independence. Thus, Iraq became Kingdom of Iraq in 1932. Later in 1958, became Republic of Iraq. Kuwait became independent from British protector in 1961. Bahrain, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, and Oman declared independence in 1971 and joined the United Nations. Yemen also became People's Democratic Republic of Yemen in 1967. Saudi Arabia was founded as the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in 1932. Jordan, Syria both became independent in 1946. All these events has taken place during Prof. AbuSulayman Hamid, his lifetime. The problems of independence. This rapid formation of new states in Muslim world conceals serious problems. They fail to give definite shape to their nationalism. Some plunged into full imitation of West, some resort to the old Islamic tradition, and still some stored on both, lacking a clear mission, a vision for their political endeavor. This predicament surely would lead to mind confusion and crisis. These problems are addressed by Professor AbuSulayman in his book, Crisis of Muslim Mind. The Muslims must find those problems embedded in their nation and search for effective solutions. Muslim war crisis. The war between Iraq and Iran in September 1980, launched by Saddam Hussein, bitterly divided Arab world, with Syria, Libya, and South Yemen backing Iran, and Saudi Arabia, Jordan supporting Iraq. The war lasted for 8 years, resulting in great loss of human lives and waste of national resources, with no side winning over the other. 2 years later, on August 2nd, 1990, Saddam Hussein decided to invade Kuwait, whose hasty action drove the forces of invasion into Iraq land. Saddam Hussein's government was toppled by US and allied forces in 2003. On the pretext of that, his government possessed the chemical weapons of mass destruction, which was not found even after the defeat of Iraq National Army.
Okay.
Since then, the Muslim Middle East was thrown into constant social unrest.
Dr. Min, Ke Qin, your presentation is very valuable, good and important, but we have to accommodate another speaker up to 4 p.m. Kindly give a precise view of, then it will come in the publication.
Okay, Prof. AbdulHamid's observation, yes. In face of this harrowing situation, Prof. AbdulHamid cried that often bitterness and frustrations crept into my depth of my soul. More often did the urgency of crisis fill my heart with determination and conviction that the things must change. And in another place, he commented that Ummah's present infirmity, backwardness have become so pronounced that its very existence is threatened by the challenge of Western civilization to its way of life, thought, and institutions. Few points are the era of socio-political atmosphere in the non-Muslim world. Number point is everybody, I think, we have witnessed that after Second World War, the Western Europeans and especially America and Russia, and later this China, Indian, Japan, even Singapore, all are nowadays Taiwan, all are now Muslim world. They are catching up with modernization and economic development. But none of them are Muslim from Muslim world. I think there's a very serious problem, yes, with Muslims. We must think, yes, what are problems? So the whole life of late Professor AbdulHamid has spent in the turmoil of Muslim nations, and he has witnessed their vicissitudes. It is sure that as long as Muslim nations stay weak and undeveloped, all that have been experienced by some Muslim nations will continue and spread to all Muslim nations. There must be solid reasons why non-Muslim nations like non-Muslim like Japan, China, India, and besides most European countries are able to catch up one after another in modernization and economic development, but none of Muslim nations. This is the question answered by throughout his life by Professor AbdulHamid in his books mentioned above. Allah yarhamhu.
You have given a very good view of the era of Dr. AbuSulayman, and then what was his response as a very, very sensitive person. You have really added to this conference a very good chapter, which definitely will come as a chapter in the proceedings.